Good evening, Facebook, and welcome to Deep Conversations and Transformations. My name is Lynette, and my intention behind these interviews is that everyone involved positively transforms. And tonight I am joined by my good friend Sarah-Alexandra Teodorescu, and she is an American writer, a storyteller, and a yoga instructor. Now, we just tried to go live and it didn't work, so let me see if I can add her. And oh, Kelly, I can add you, but I can't see Sarah, so hopefully it's going to work. I was just saying before, I met Sarah about 2 years ago. She walked into Lululemon where I was working at the time, and she just looked amazing. She had this red lip on and a beautiful fringe, and I just reached out and I was like, you look stunning. And it was from that day that our friendship started. So tonight I'm wearing a red lip in honour of her. But where is she? Sarah, please, come on. So sometimes the technology can be a little bit funny. Hi, Kirsty. But yeah, last time I came on, it said that she was here and was waiting for me to add her. Sarah, are you there? Let's get this show on the road. I'm like really excited for this interview. Oh yes, here she is. Wait there. Please work. Approve. It's going to work. It's going to work. Come on. Send us all the good energy.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, Sarah, you're here. Have you got your red lip on?
I do. We both do.
I wore it in honor of you.
I was more worried about not actually being able to do this with you than doing it. And I definitely was worried about doing it. So, whew. Okay, I had to send you a request to join you on this. So, hi.
Amazing. Hello. I think this is like the 13th one or something. I'm still learning. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing. So thank you for joining me.
You've got 13 under your belt. This is one. And I can't imagine doing it with anyone else. So, whew, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. So I was just saying how we met, how when you walked into Lululemon, I was like, wow, who's this stunning lady?
I mean, it was instant love for me. Like, I looked at you and I was like, I love everything about you. And you're like, do you want to work here? And I was like, no, but I love you.
And then you started to come to,
you became my anchor, because when I moved here, I knew one person, and you were the first person I met in Edinburgh, actually. And so I worked remotely, and I didn't have a set schedule, and I didn't have a routine. And I was like, I'm just going to go to your class. That'll be my one grounding thing I will do every week. Every Tuesday, I will go to your class. And
I remember.
It was my saving grace. And I still love coming to your classes and all the people that I've met through them and watching you. Like, the first time I heard you speak, I was like, oh, she's a goddess and a priestess, and she is so heartfelt and so kind, but also so powerful. And I was like, you are asking everybody in that room to rise. And people are rising with you in the rooms, through these talks, through everything that you do. So it is the most amazing thing to watch and to be a part of. I love you.
Thank you so much. I love you so much. We are rising together, sister. So what brought you to Scotland, Sarah? Like, what was the draw?
Oh, man.
Like a cigarette? What are you lighting?
No, it's Palo Santo. Seriously.
Like getting out the doobies.
No, definitely Palo Santo.
I'm joking.
Well, whatever is necessary. But I had a class before we were doing this. And it's so funny because they went from like an hour class to making the weekend classes like an hour and 15 minutes. And I took it to an hour and 30 minutes today, because I was like, oh, it's so nice to see everybody so relaxed. So I had some leftover Palo Santo, and that's what's being burnt right now. But
bring it over.
Towards you.
Thanks. Sending it out to all the viewers.
Yes, to everyone. By the way, if you don't use this yet, it's amazing.
Oh my God,
so good.
It's the best thing ever. It's the best. It's to get you in that meditative state. Boom.
Boom, exactly.
Boom, exactly.
Scotland, why the hell am I here?
Yeah, tell me what brought you here.
Well, the funniest thing is, so everybody, including like people who check tickets on the trains and everybody that I talk to, because people here are incredibly open and kind. So everyone's just like, why are you here? And they're always like, oh, was it a man or a job? And I was like, no, it's neither. It's such a deep love for this place. And I've condensed it to, it's a love of the nature and the nature of the people here. because, oh my gosh, so it's been 10 years that I've been coming here, and every time I was here, I just felt really happy. And so happy that whenever I left, it was really hard to leave. And the last time I was here before moving here was 2 years ago. And something happened to my heart. Like, I was taken up to the Orkneys by my friend Steven, and it was like this surprise gift trip. And every place in Scotland to me is just amazing and incredible. But Orkney, being there, being with the standing stones, being with Skara Brae, and being inside this tomb, this like 5,000-year-old tomb, literally did something to my heart where it was just like, I need to be back here. And I went back to California, and I cried for 10 hours straight. And I'm sure whoever was sitting next to me was probably like, what did she lose? And then, I was sad for a week. And all of my friends were like, what's going on? This isn't like you. And I went to the beach because I used to live in Venice. And I went and walked along the beach from Venice to Santa Monica and cried and held my heart and cried and cried. And I was like, I just need to go back to Scotland. So that was January. Then by June, 2 of my friends and I were launching a jewelry business. And so we did that. And then I was like, so I really need to go in like 3 months. And I have been really, really lucky in life with people, with all of my friends, with just everyone. Everyone was incredibly supportive. Not one person said, don't go. Everyone said, go. This is your heart place. Go, go, go. Amazing. And I had one friend in Scotland. And he was like, I have a room in my house and you can have it for as long as you want until you figure out where you want to be. Because at that point I was like either Skye or Edinburgh. So like opposites and on different coasts. And I've loved it ever since. I've never been happier, like sincerely so elated to be here. And
so good to have you here.
It just keeps growing. Like, I feel like it's the right people at the right time doing everything that I want to be doing. And it's no longer a struggle. Like, I've lived in incredible cities before, but I feel like New York definitely was hard. LA was much softer. But living here, it's just I just have to be myself, and everything else kind of comes. And the offers and the friendships and the love and the intention, all of it is just here, active. And it's just such a massive, massive gift. And I'm so glad I said yes to listening to my heart, because it did that.
And I think what's truly amazing is, we've met about 2 years ago now, and the growth that has happened between
for both of us.
But for both of us, between us, and also like the friends that we've brought in, it's everything. Even being at Cam's studio, it's about to turn 1, and that place is just.
That's why I was like, I want to be here for this video, because I was like,
I love
better
that
place.
Cam.
Because I was like, this is home for me. Like literally, like I wasn't here for a week, and I came back like half an hour before class, and just to be in the physical space by myself, and I was like, this is home. And meeting Katie was because of you, because of women's circles, because of meditation classes, and then literally all of our friends here. Like, it is the biggest gift. And I had a talk last night with 2 of my really, really dear friends, Sarah and Evelyn. And I was telling Sarah, I was like, she's at this thing, another Sarah, not speaking of myself in third person, because that would be really weird. But she's this dynamic, beautiful woman who wants to create so much positive change in her city, in Phoenix. And I was telling her, I was like, because I've seen what I'm like when I'm supported, I couldn't ever settle for less than this, because the bar has been raised so high. And my potential for growth and learning and changing, and my heart is so full that I'm like, anything less than this is unacceptable. So to everyone that's watching, to everyone that's listening, seriously, like, don't settle for less. When you're supported, when you're with the right people, when you're doing what your heart calling is, everything starts to fall into place, and things get easier and lighter, and you're not doing it alone, and it feels like the biggest gift.
I think that's huge. I think it's really helps with healing, and it's that asking for help as well that maybe for years we haven't done,
That's a big one.
Asking for help. How do you find it now that you've been on this journey?
I still find it hard. It's something I struggle. I'm like,
you're like, guilt.
But even being here was actually such a massive lesson, and I kind of have to work backwards a little bit to explain it. So I have a really dear friend. His name is Daniel Eiley, and I call him Minx because he would be a Minx cat if he was an animal. He's so sweet. One of the most incredible human beings in the world. And he had moved away from LA and was coming back to LA and kind of needed a place to live for a little bit. And while he like found his job and where he wanted to be in the city, and I was like, come stay with me, like stay with me for as long as you want, because I love you, because I love your company. And for me, it felt so incredibly good to offer that. And so he stayed with me for 3 months, and it was 3 of the best months of my life because I love his company. And we just like literally would go to bed together, wake up together, tell each other that we love each other. And it was just the sweetest, most incredible time. And then it came time for him to leave. And obviously we were both like, but we've been friends for a really long time. So it's going to continue. And so what that taught me was that I loved being able to give to someone, and offering him my space felt like, it felt so good to give that. So when my friend Lee was like, I have a space in my home for you if you wanted, the first thing that like triggered in my mind was, this is a reversal. You have to accept. You have to accept. And I wanted Scotland so much. I wanted to live here so badly that all the fears I had about accepting kind of just diminished, because all of a sudden it was like, it was this cognizant realization that the world is offering something that you really, really are going to benefit from. And the only thing that would have stopped me would have been my ego saying no, and my pride saying, no, you can't accept this kindness. And it was in doing that for someone else that I was asked to balance it out and to receive, which has definitely been a little bit, it's taken some work, but now it's good. It feels really good because, so Amanda Palmer, she is an incredible artist and musician, and she's Neil Gaiman's wife. And in 2012, she did this TED Talk, and it was about the power of asking. And she's supported by all her fans in everything that she does because she asks, including crowd surfing and including like bringing out her CDs and doing her shows. Everything that she does with the help of community. And she used to be like a statue for 7 years. She was one of these statues that you'd like give like $1 to or a pound to.
Aye.
And then she'd like give you a flower or like look at you in the eyes. And in that moment, there's that exchange, that energy exchange. So she did that. And what she noticed was that it's hard for people to ask. It's really, really hard, but we need to be able to do this. So I was listening to her TED Talk, and I was like, oof, like it went straight to the heart. And I was like, okay, you can give, but can you receive? So I've been getting better at asking. And I plan to get even better at it, because what she also taught me was that people want to be of service. They want to help. Our innate nature is to give, to support others. And so we have to allow them to do that, and then to do it when they need it. And that's how something is in balance, because I can honestly say I was out of balance.
Yeah, I was too for a long time, and it feels a little bit more resistance to receive, but we must receive and give the same amount. You know, it has to be in balance, like you say.
And it feels really, really good. Like when you receive it, you know it, and the gratitude just expands and grows. And it also makes me want to give more. Like, how can I be of service to people I haven't met, to people on the street? Like, I really, like, everything from talking to the waiter, to the waitress, to the person checking my tickets. I'm like, I want to give them kindness. I want to give them something good for that day, even if it's for like a couple of seconds, because I've been shown so much kindness since I moved here. Like, seriously, so humbled. Everyone's like, how can we help you? How can we let you do what you want to do? So it's absolutely incredible. And it works both ways.
Yeah, and I think I always remember when the amazing couple, my friends Simone and Mike, when they gifted me the tickets for Tony Robbins. It was the first time I received so openly. I was like, wow, yes! And like they got so much from it. They got so much given because I received it like so openly. And there was this energy between us. Like I was like, this is pure abundant energy, and this is what giving and receiving is all about. And then I was able to give then one of the tickets to Alina, and she received it the same way, and I was like, whoa.
It amplifies and expands and grows, and I'm like, yes, give and receive.
Ripples out. Yes. So Sarah, you're a writer. You're a passionate writer. You're
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
What really compelled you to become a writer?
So it's funny because the older that I get, and I turned 37, no, 38 this month. How old?
38, babes.
Yeah. So the more I like settle into myself, the more I realize that a lot of the tendencies I have now as an adult were there
Yeah.
as a child.
So
Like,
you were writing as a child. I'm just going to move a light. 2 seconds.
um,
Yeah.
I used to walk around with like these big ledgers that my grandfather had, and I would draw in them and I would write with them, and I would literally have like a ledger and like pens and pencils. And literally now I look at myself and I look at like my workspace and I'm like, oh, it's notebooks and books and pens and pencils and fountain pens and ink, because there is such a need to want to put things on paper.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think all of us, when we're teenagers, we go through difficult times, let's say. It's so much change and so many things are happening.
Yeah.
And I started writing when I was in the 5th grade. And it's really interesting because I picked up writing like really quickly, and it was something that just like I just started writing a lot of creative essays, and school was really supportive of it, so I just kept writing. And then I started keeping notebooks. And the first one was in the 5th grade. And then I took like a stack of them. When I turned 28, I took all of them out, laid them out on the floor. It was 37 notebooks. And all of them, yeah, I know. All of them had caught so many different periods of time in my life. And I realized there was also a shift and a change within me when I was a teenager and I was writing. A lot of the writing was definitely therapeutic and self-care in a way that I didn't realize, but it was my way of working through things. And I remember even as a teenager, I would look back at what I had written, and that the thought was, oh, there's wisdom here. How did I know all of this? It was almost like I would read back to a couple of like months or weeks, and then I would realize I had had the answers within me all along. And that was really incredible. But when I was young, a lot of it was just me trying to pour everything onto the page so I didn't have to hold it in. Because there were definitely hard times, and I definitely went through like a depression as a teenager, and trying to like deal with my mom's depression and trying to kind of be better for my brother and my sister than either of our parents were. So writing did that for me. And one of the things that I remember my mom very distinctly telling me as a child was that nothing is safe on the page. You're not safe. Like, you can't put anything on the page because it'll be used against you. And she did an excellent job of that, because she would go through my notebooks. And as a teenager, you know, you're just like, everything's dramatic. And she would read them and then like be really upset with me for everything that I had written. And I think my biggest saving grace then was continuing to do it. Because even though I didn't feel like it was safe, because I didn't know when she would read it, I still came back to the page and still wrote and still wrote and still wrote and still wrote and still wrote. And no matter where I found myself in life, I kept writing. And when I turned 28 and I looked at all the notebooks, I had this moment. I have a friend. His name is Jason. He's incredible. And he knows I love the color orange. So for my birthday many years ago, he had gotten me like 2 Samsonite suitcases. They were orange, fireproof, mind you. And guess what I put in them? I put notebooks. I put all of my notebooks into these suitcases, because I was like, if there's ever a moment where I need to flee for my life, I don't know why there would be, but
Run!
It would
You're taking the books with you.
That's what I would take. Yes. And then I had been in a really long-term relationship, like almost 11 years, and it ended. And those notebooks were at his house. And I remember thinking, I was like, you know what, if this is what I have to give up in order for this to come to an end, then I released them. And it was hard because they were like my children, because so they had caught like everything I had experienced, like thoughts and fears and dreams and poetry and everything. But I was like, I'm letting go of this. And 6 months later, Christmas time, he sent me all the notebooks. In a which was great. And there was a note with them, and essentially it said like, I needed to understand you through your writing, and this was what I had left of you, and now they belong to you. So I was very, very grateful, and then got them back. And then when I turned 28, laid them all out, looked at them, and then appreciated literally everything that was in them, and then realized I didn't need them anymore. So I'd been carrying them around physically with me. Like every time I moved, these notebooks were in my
Come with you.
Yes. And then I looked at them and I was like, you know, they served their purpose. They had their time. So I kept 7 of them, the first one being one of them, and then 6 of the most recent ones, and then threw the rest of them out.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really powerful.
Did you burn them? Did you burn them, or did you just throw them?
I just threw them out. I was moving back to California from New York, and I was just like, you know what, like they're just gonna go. So I don't know if anyone ever, like in New York, people go through the dumpsters and they find things. So I don't know
to see.
Maybe
there might be somebody reading one right now.
I know, maybe, but you know,
nuts.
Wherever they are, like that's where they need to be. Like I didn't need them anymore, because I was looking through all of them and I was like, I cherish these moments in my life, but I'm not in those moments anymore. I can let them go. Yeah. And that was also really powerful and really cathartic. So yeah, get to the page.
It's amazing. Yes. But you're part of a book. There's a book out there.
Oh, yes,
you're part of.
Yes. So
what's it called?
Oh, so much. Okay, there's a story. So in case anyone doesn't know this about me, I think everyone has a story, because we're like, so many stories woven together like tapestries of like our ancestors, our friends, everything that we experience, who we are. So there's story to everything. So I can't tell you about that book without telling you about story. So there's a writer. His name is Tyler Gregson, and a few of my friends really loved his work. And then I started reading him, a lot of poetry. And I went to
I've seen him on Instagram.
Oh yeah, he's very heartfelt.
Yeah.
And I went to see him in LA with my friend Amanda and my friend Josh, and we went to see him speak, and it was great. And it was also this moment where I was like, oh, there's a boy version of me on stage speaking from his heart and with his words. And so I was just like, oh, I really, really like him. And one of the things that struck me about him that I don't have is he has a form of Asperger's, a mild form of it. But because of that, he really doesn't care about what people think about him. So he's like, I can't imagine what it's like when you do care, when you're afraid of what people are going to say about you. And I was in the audience going like, yeah, every time you like open your mouth to speak something that you've written, it's such a sacred part of you that you're offering to the world, that there is that moment of like trembling and fear going like, how is this going to be received? And then I thought about it and I was like, wait, who am I writing for? I don't write for other people. I write for myself first and foremost, always. And then if it happens to connect with someone, that's amazing, but it's for me. So that was really good. And he was doing this workshop. It was a 30 days Writing Yourself Alive workshop. So it was writers from all over the world coming together and doing these daily prompts and getting to know each other. And so many incredible things came from that, like so many incredible things. But 26 of us decided to get together to publish a book of our writing.
Amazing.
So I know I remember when the book came out and I held it in my hands and I was like, oh man, like tangible, like words. And obviously my friends, because you guys are incredible, like so many people bought it. And so not only for my writing, but for everybody else's writing. And one of the most memorable moments with that book was I met this incredible woman in Montana. Her name is Flannery. And I love her to pieces. And she became ordained as a minister. And last year in the summer, she was performing a wedding ceremony. And she read one of my poems from the book in the ceremony. I know. And I wouldn't have known about any of this unless she had told me. And so to know that like my words were used in the ceremony where two people were coming together and expressing love, I was just like, so humbling.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So that's how that came about. And yeah, that book is in the world and many books will need to follow because, oh man, if I think of my life in terms of, do I have any regrets? And I have no regrets. But I know that if I don't put more books into the world, then I would deeply regret it.
There definitely needs to be more books. It's so funny. I was in the car like So before I come on here, I'm like, good evening, Facebook. Like I'm saying it over and over again so that when I'm on it here, it comes out quite good.
It does come out quite good.
Elias is like, God, Mum, Sarah does a lot of things. I'm like, yeah, she does. And she's amazing. I was like, because
that little boy is amazing.
I know. And then I remembered, something that you didn't put on your bio, that you've just released a meditation onto Insight Timer, which Elias fell asleep to the other night.
Okay, so once again, like if I do nothing else in the world, every time someone like reads something or listens to something, like it is so deeply humbling. I don't even know how to begin to express it. So I think that's my motivation now in life, is like just to put these things out there. And if it resonates with someone, anyone, then...
Yeah, that's your legacy, baby. What do you want your legacy to be? It's already happening.
Oh, so much stuff. But essentially, it's a lesson that I've had a hard time with, I think, because of the nature of me, because I've spent a lot of my life looking after and trying to make sure that everyone around me is fine. More than fine, protected and loved and taken care of. And I had most often forgotten about myself in that process. And then when I went to India, it was a very, very transformative experience. I went to get certified to teach, but really what happened there was just like this massive connection to myself, which flipped the idea of selfish around completely. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to pour into myself. I really need to do that. So I went from like one extreme of being someone who like always regarded herself as like, can I take less and give more? To someone who's like, how can I better myself, pour more into myself so that I can give more, so that I can be of greater service, so that I can be more open-hearted, so that I can be kinder, so that I can be stronger. And that's what I think that's part of my legacy, because I had it so wrong for a good part of my life.
Boom! I love that. Anyone listening out there, like it's so true. It's like giving yourself so much love that you're just overflowing, and then it just ripples out and everyone gets so much more.
Because, so like it's ingrained in our society that we're like, oh, you can't love unless you love yourself. And all of us were like, man. And I actually was one of those people who was like, I was like, I love people so much. And I do. But it took me a while to really learn to turn that inward. And the more I did so, the more I could love other people. Because when we don't love ourselves, I think there's this tendency to see the lack and to see what we don't have and what we haven't done and what we're not great at and what we're not quote unquote perfect in. And then we reflect it into other people too. So as much as we love them, we're still going to look at them and go like, you're lacking something. But that's because they're always mirrors for us. And so it's so much easier to love everyone fully if you really find that within
yourself. The more I love myself, the relationships I have with every other human being just gets better and better, and it ripples out, and I start to see them like loving themselves more. So it's like you love yourself and you give permission to every other person to do the same. And then this is what's going to bring world peace.
I mean, we're doing it. That's what I'm realizing is like, we do it. You and I do it. Our friends do it. The people that we love do it. There are people all over the world doing different things, but with the same mindset. The fact that like we stand strong together. And that's always given me so much hope, because there are a lot of things in the world that are sad, that are harrowing, that are so outside of our reality that I almost don't know how to deal with it, because I'm like, oh, what do you mean they're not supportive of you? What do you mean they're not kind? What do you mean they're sexist? What do you mean they're racist? What do you mean they're homophobic? Like all these things, and they do exist, and we have to acknowledge them. But then the flip side also exists. There are people like us all over the world doing incredible things. And so, we're not doing it alone, and that's so powerful.
So powerful. Something I really want to ask you, and I know it's a topic that not many women talk about, but you have experienced ayahuasca. I know this plant is just incredible, and that's something I want to do. I've not done it yet, but I know her message is, we are all one. Tell the audience, what is ayahuasca, and tell us your experience, if that's something you want to share.
Oh yeah, I could talk about that for like a really long time. In fact, what I'm realizing is that I have a lot to say. But okay, so
That's
ayahuasca.
okay. It's good to have a lot to say.
Yeah, and it's
You're
all
like, where do I begin?
it's all bubbling out. It's just like, oof, okay, yes.
Yeah,
So
get out.
ayahuasca, I didn't know what ayahuasca was until 2009. And at the
Yeah.
time, I was in this long-term relationship, and we had broken up, come back together. And the reason we had broken up was because he had become an alcoholic in the process. And we broke up because he's like, I don't want you to be a part of this. I don't want you to see it. So for a year and a half, we weren't together. And then we came back together, and he's like, I don't want to be this anymore. I need to change. I need to do something about alcoholism.
Yeah.
So he had read up about ayahuasca, and he's like, let's go to Peru. Let's do ayahuasca. And his intent for it was very clear. He wanted to stop drinking. Yes, the end result was a full 180, like completely gone. My intent for it was different because I didn't have an addiction I wanted to treat, but I think everything I've done in life, whether it's been yoga or writing or drugs, I've done drugs. Every time I've done something like that, it's been to bring me back to myself. And I've always found a piece of me that was really, really important and really dear. And it's almost like putting all these puzzle pieces back into yourself. So when I went to Peru for the first time, we ended up spending 3 months in Cusco, which is the capital, and it's an incredible sacred place. And we met a husband and wife, a shaman, Eric and Nilda, and they are the epitome of like kindness and love and strength. So they do an intake with you, about 2 hours per person, and they ask you what your motivation for coming there and doing ayahuasca is. And so you talk about religion, you talk about what your fears are, what your dreams are, everything that comes together to create you as a human being. And then they decide whether or not they want to work for you. And I think this is such an integral and important part of doing ayahuasca, is to find people who really have a true and deep respect for it, and who will not just offer it to you and just go like, I feel like most of the time it's something that you as a person are called to do, and then it opens itself up to you. So for me, writing again became my savior, because before you do it, you have to have about 2 weeks worth of preparation. And again, if you meet someone who's like, here, take ayahuasca now. And I had this instance where one of my best friends had the opportunity to do it in Amsterdam. She's like, do I do it? And I was like, no. Like, there's so much preparation that you need when you go into it.
Yeah, you need to be in a special sort of eating as well.
Yeah.
You eat certain things before it.
So your diet, definitely like no meats, no canned food, nothing that's preserved. Your sexuality, you have to be celibate. You can't, you could be there with your significant other, but that you're not supposed to be engaging your energy on that level with anyone except yourself.
Okay.
So the way that you eat, the way that you meditate, setting an intention for why you want to do it is really, really important. So what is ayahuasca actually? Ayahuasca there are 2 vines that are boiled together in about 70 hours into a really thick mixture that you drink. And it is not delicious.
Yeah. When you said thick there, I'm like, oh God.
It tastes like you're eating and drinking earth at the same time, and like it's
delicious.
Yes. So the shamans for hundreds of years have used these 2 plants in combination to take people on a spiritual quest where you have visions, and the purpose of it's seen as medicine. So they have these beautiful songs, and they're called icaros, and they're essentially an homage to the plant, thanking her for what she does and what she brings within us. So you fast, you meditate, you take it, and you start to have these incredible visions. And the first time I did it was just with my then boyfriend and the 2 shamans, and then we went back a year later and did it with another incredible man. And no matter who you're in the room with, it's a very individual experience. So you're facing yourself. And in Quechua, ayahuasca translates to the death vine. And in a way, in many ways, actually. It's ritual death. And one of the things I've been thinking a lot about in the last year is that there is a fear of death. All of us have it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us kind of push against it because it seems like such a finality, such an end to who we are.
Yeah.
And yeah, we cling to life. We cling to this idea of what we've created here. And our fear, I think our biggest fear is that it all ceases to exist. So ayahuasca, for me, the first time I did it, I wanted to understand myself. And one of the really cool things about it was it's a medicine that goes exactly where you need it to go. So it works with every person's physical body and emotional being to target where you need help.
Yeah.
For me, it was really interesting because I didn't have addictions. I didn't have something major that I felt needed to be overhauled. But what I did have were panic attacks. And the interesting part about them was I got them because I used to work for Diesel years and years and years ago. And I was in the office and I was taking something out of the safe and there was a shelf right above it that I had avoided for years. And my friend Chris was coming in and I heard him speaking to me, and I love Chris to pieces. So I was so excited. I forgot about the shelf, stood up really quickly,
Watch your head.
hit my head like on the metal part.
Uh-huh.
And I knew it wasn't like something that was going to go away. Went and got a CAT scan and they were like, oh yeah, it's a hairline fracture.
Oh God.
And it would heal itself. But it's really interesting because when I got the CAT scan was the first time that I had a panic attack. Like it just set in. And I was like, oh my God, like it was so overwhelming and so like, oof, I didn't know what this was.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. But I was like, okay, it'll probably go away. As this heals in my head, then the panic attack will probably go. They didn't. And it got to the point where I would have them in my sleep and I would wake up gasping for air, and it was horrifying. So when I went into my first ayahuasca ceremony, my only intent was that this somehow like lessens. And right before the ceremony started, I felt it coming on. Like I felt the panic strong. So I was like, excuse me. So I went outside, took off my bra because I literally felt like there was not enough
constricted.
Like there was not enough physical
Bras can do that.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. But I was like, oof, I need to like physically create like space in my ribs and in my heart because it was coming on really strong. So lay down, took the ayahuasca, and a lot of incredible things happened. But one of the things that definitely happened in the first one was this green flower starting to blossom on the side of my head, like right where I had been hit. And it just felt this like kinetic electric energy that was moving through me. And it just kind of like, I don't know, but just pure energy. And at the end of it, I remember asking Nilda, I was like, oof, like that felt really different. And I told her that I felt one coming on, and she's like, you're never going to have one, like ever again. Wow. I've never had,
somebody's just asked, do you still have them?
No, I don't have them
Panic
anymore.
attacks? No, never again.
No.
Healed. She healed you.
Yeah, it was astounding because it was very much on a physical level. Yeah. And so that was the first experience with ayahuasca. And I remember in my mind, like there were places that I didn't allow the vine to go into. I was keeping her at bay in certain instances because I was like, I don't want to go in there. And she respected that because what else is she going to do? I mean, you have full control, but one of the things I know about it is you can't go into it with fear. If you're scared, it's not going to give you the results that you want. It might not give you any results at all, actually. So you can't go into it with fear. And then the second time I went back to Peru was a year later, did 2 more ceremonies. And I wasn't scared anymore. Like I knew her to a certain degree and I was like, I want to be open. I want to go deeper than I did the first time. So I did. And it was just,
okay, you got what you asked for.
Yeah. Oh my God, did I ever? But I would not, like with these experiences, I would not trade them in for anything in the world. Like they have been so sacred and so much a part of bringing myself back to myself that literally if someone right now is like, you can have everything in the world except we will take these memories from you, I would say no. In a heartbeat, I would say no and mean it. So the second time I went back, I went into this incredible city of light. And this is something that it took me 5 years to write about, even though I write about everything, because it was so sacred and so dear to me that I didn't have the words. Like I couldn't.
Wow.
But so I went into this world of light, and I could like, I had a physical form, but I was also made of light. So I was like looking at my fingertips, and it was just rays of light. Everything was made of light.
Wow.
And I had it, yeah, astounding. Like magical rainbows, unicorns, all that good stuff. The city made entirely of light. And in my mind, I knew that it was created with my thoughts. And there was this energy, like the ayahuasca, speaking and guiding me through this world. And it felt like home. And there was such a deep gravitational pull to it that the longer, it reminded me of a fairy tale where like the longer you stay in a place, the more anchored you become in it. And you're not supposed to eat or sleep there because it really like is summoning you into it. And that's exactly how I felt. Like there were moments where I was just like, oof, I don't know if I can return to my physical body.
Oh God, I don't want to leave here.
No. Yeah, but it was such a feeling of oneness and connection and peace. And I'm just going to be really blunt. Every breath was an orgasm. Like every breath was so powerful and so rich that I was just like, it was almost unbearable, but in a really incredible way. Yeah. And I kept coming out of this world 3 times because I felt like the longer I stayed, the harder it was for me to be here. So it was kind of a ritual death, but the allure of it was like to be one with nature again, to be one with the universe, to be one with yourself. So it didn't feel bad at all, but in the back of my head, I was like, I need to come back here. I need to be grounded on this planet now. Because now
you need to be the light.
Well, that was the thing. I was like,
experiencing.
There's stuff I haven't done here that I need to do, and it's not time for me to be in that space. It's time for me to be in my physical form and to talk about these things. So I went back into it, and then this is the only time where the ayahuasca voice got really upset with me, and she's like, this is what you choose humanity. And there were all these flashes of all the things that we as people do to each other that are harrowing. And it was like movie stills. And she's like, this is what you choose. This is what you choose. And I was like, yes, this is what I choose because we need to change this. And I was finding it so hard to not get drawn into that world. And in my head, and I didn't say this out loud, in my head, I asked Eric, the shaman, for help. I was telling him, I was like, I need help. I can't come back from here. And he got up, he like came over to me, blew smoke on top of my head, held my head between his hands. And like literally it was like summoning like all of my physical form back into the here and now.
Come back,
Yes.
Wow.
And so when you finish one of these sessions, like you feel like everything's been stripped from you, like everything. Like I could barely stand
like
up.
Everything.
Yes. Like emotions, thoughts, and also your physical body like is so weakened because it takes a lot of energy, a lot of energy. But what you get
is life, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting because in none of my visions did I see the things that I had read about or seen in videos. And it's really interesting because most of the accounts are from men, and a lot of them speak about demons and hells and torture. And I didn't have that, but it was in the back of my head that I could have that. So I think, you're facing yourself essentially, like always through these experiences. But you can't go into it with fear because otherwise it strips you of the capacity to actually have the experience and allow it to take you where it needs to go. And
is she calling you again?
Okay, so did it once, did it 2 times, did it 3 times, and then I did it 2 years ago in California, which was very different. Obviously not in the Amazon. And I actually did it in my apartment with a friend of a friend. So that was very, very intricate, like livid, obviously, with like images and memories because it's my physical space that I'm creating and now filling it with this experience. But the gentleman that I did it with, he had been a chiropractor for 20 years and he started using ayahuasca about 5 years 5 years ago. And so he's working on your physical body as you're going through the mental and emotional layers. Oh yeah. So it was a completely different experience. And so you're very vulnerable. And I knew him, amazing, amazing human being, and completely trusted him. And again, if you don't trust the person that you're doing it with, your results are not going to be great. So in my apartment, in my bedroom, on a massage table, in my underwear with like a sheet over me. Yeah. And for 8 hours, like he's working through my physical body as I'm working through the mental and emotional layers. And that's a lot of work. And that morning, I had taught a yoga class on the beach to 3 senior citizen ladies who were amazing. And I kept telling them, I was like, our bodies store memories and emotions, just like our mind. Like, I knew this in theory and I believed it. But when I was lying on that table, having this experience, and as he's going through like every part of my body, because I know I'm very visual, as he was going through the parts, I could feel when they were light and when they were dense with energy, but I could also see the experiences that had happened. And it's a lot, because it's gotten to the point where I look at my body and I'm like, I am a living library of everything I have ever experienced. And for the people that I can't take it that far with, I'll just say in this lifetime from birth. But for you and the people that can take it a little further, if you for 1 second contemplate the thought that maybe you come around again and again in different bodies to experience, this physical body is encoded with the DNA of everything you've ever known. Everything. And it's a process to also go into those places and let go, because we do hold on to the beauty and the joy and the love and the connections, but we also hold on to the things that hurt us. So yeah, we definitely have to make conscious choices to go into those places and heal them. And so like for me, there was a point where he was going over my right ribs. And I laughed, and he asked me, why are you laughing? And I was like, I have died so many times on this side. Like, I have to laugh about it because, because I've come back again and again and again and again. And your entire physical body is this incredible manual of experience. So
that's incredible. Like, lots of people are saying, like, thank you for sharing that, like, so openly and authentically. Like,
I couldn't imagine
that
another
isn't
way.
always talked about, and I think it's just incredible to hear.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you. No, I think and I'd love for you to do a talk on this somewhere.
I feel like I need to do a talk about this.
You went to a talk this week, didn't you? And it was maybe men sharing.
Yes. So Andrew and Kate and 2 other friends and I went to this ayahuasca conference, and I saw it pop up on Facebook, and I was like, I want to know what they're up to. So I was like, I don't know what to expect. I was like, if you guys want to come, great. If you don't, that's okay. But I'm going to go, because in the back of my mind is this consistent thought of like, I want to be able to use it as healing with people, and to introduce it with the modalities that I'm already comfortable with, like storytelling, like writing, like yoga, like meditation, because it is accessible to us as a means to help us heal ourselves. And it's not for everyone, and it's not a panacea. It's not something that I'd be like, oh, everyone go do this. No, it's not like that at all. But when you look at it, like, it's used to treat depression, it's used to treat PTSD, it's used to treat anxiety, it's used to treat all sorts of addictions. And then you take a human being who maybe doesn't have any of these, but still wants to understand themselves, to go beyond the limitations of what we know ourselves to be. And then you're just like, whoa, this is incredible. It's absolutely powerful. So going to the conference was good. It was good. It makes me happy to know that there's more of it happening in the world. It is a very individual experience. So you can't really, I remember going, this was years ago, but going on a Tinder date with a guy. And he asked to like meet at a bar, and he's like, oh yeah, we do ayahuasca circles in Topanga. I just did one yesterday. And he was drinking. And in my mind, I was like, no, you can't do this. Like, it has to be respected. It has to really be honored. So yeah, there are people who will like out on a whim go like, I will do this because it sounds like it's cool. It's like the cool thing to do. And now it's in movies and it's in books and it's like the new rage. But it's not that. It has to be sacred. You have to take your time with it. You have to trust yourself with it.
Yeah.
And you have to feel like a calling to it, because I've talked about it with people who are like, yeah, no, not for me. And that's totally.
Yeah. You need to actually
fine.
like have a deep desire to want to experience that.
Yeah. But I think the fact that, so like I did it in Peru first. And then when I went to India, I was talking to this incredible woman. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's been done here for a very long time. And then I was in Norway and it's being done there. And it's being done pretty much everywhere in the world right now. Yeah. And you think about it and it's an old history, an old knowledge, an old way of healing. So they can't be wrong. Yeah. That many people all over the place. And the experiences, I mean, yeah, they speak for themselves, but yeah, very individual experiences. And for some people, it's really, really hard. It will shake you to your core. It will take you into those places that you've probably been avoiding for a long time. But then again, the thing for me recently that I've been thinking about is that what it left in me is a lack of a fear of death. And
yeah, I think everyone I spoke to that's done it is the same thing. And everyone I know that has done it is like rising high and high and higher.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And you also realize that this is not the beginning or end of you. And I don't look at it as such a finality anymore. And from a purely like scientific point of view, I think about my body in the sense of like, I'm energy. And it cannot be created nor destroyed.
Pure energy.
And I'm changing form, and I will continue to change form. And I think one of the things that happens is like we recognize each other from lifetime to lifetime. And it's that energy that we recognize. It's different bodies, different places, and different experiences. But when you connect with someone and it's just like pure love, and you're just like, oof, like it might be something like looking into someone's eyes. And that's why I feel like that saying of like the eyes are the soul, windows to the soul. I think there's some sort of recognition that happens when you connect with someone. And I think love is remembering. It's remembering who you've been and who these other people have been to you, and everything else drops. And you just sense this energy that you've always known and will always know. And all of this has helped me a lot because I started doing retreats for widows and widowers with a really dear friend. And going into that core of loss and of grief and of sadness isn't easy. But as soon as I heard what she was doing, I was like, I want to help. Yeah. I want to be there because I want to teach people that there's more, that we don't just disintegrate, and that love doesn't die. And that as long as we're here, there's something that we need to do and something that we need to push forward, because all of us have these things that our souls want us to achieve and to do. Yeah. And we're lucky because we're doing it together. So yeah, this lack of fear of death, I think it's going to serve me.
Yeah, and I think you talk about retreats. You and I are going to be doing a retreat soon. Yes. So I know it's been mentioned in one of the letters for CAM, so it'll be out soon. But yeah, that's going to be in September. Oh my God. So anyone watching, if they want to come with Sarah, I, and Katie, and Neris will be there also. That's going to be exciting. That's going to be a weekend retreat up in Scotland.
On the West Coast, in this magical house with the backyard that is Puck's Glen, which is seriously hands down my favorite place in all of Scotland. And by now, anyone that's watching knows how much I love all of Scotland. But also to do this work with the people that you love, like seriously, oh my, there's nothing that lights me up more. So yes,
that's going to be a huge transformational weekend that's going to go really deep. That's Kelly Johnson saying, I'll come. Yes, come along for the ride. So it's going to be amazing.
Yep.
So, God, we could talk for hours. But
I know, really I don't know where.
So maybe we'll get you on like in 6 months' time, or just before we do our retreat, so we can talk about the retreat,
absolutely,
and talk about other stuff. But before you leave, like what's been your proudest moment so far?
Oh, wow.
Or what are you most proud about yourself for?
So two things. The first two things that pop into my well, a lot of things, but I'm just going to go with the first two. When I lived in Norway, I had incredible women who taught at a school. It was a specialized high school for kids that didn't traditionally enjoy the basic form of learning. So alternative high schools. Yeah. And they asked me if I would go in and teach them yoga. And I was like, yeah, I'll go in and teach you yoga, but I also want to do storytelling with photography and writing. So we did a whole day. And it was 40 kids, and they pretty much told me, like, if they walk out of the room, just know, like, that's their prerogative. We've had other speakers come, other writers, and they're, you know, just let them go. And I was like, okay. I know that I would, like, take it into heart if someone felt like they needed to leave, but I was like, I have to be okay with that. And then I sat and I was like, okay, what can I give these kids that will really get them to trust me? So I had written an account of what it was like for me to leave Romania and then to go back 20 years later. And my grandfather had died in the process. I hadn't seen my dad. So it was all these like really monumental things that I went to do. And they were very personal and very, very heartfelt and just deep in there. So I was like, I'm going to read this to them. So I had them sit in a circle, close their eyes, and the teachers, and I read to them. And my voice shook because it's full of emotion. Yeah, and it was your truth. Very poignant. Yeah. And no one left. What happened was everyone was left in tears. And I'm learning that I'm good at making people cry, which sounds terrible, but it's about getting people to that emotional space.
God, that weekend's going to be like a tear fest.
But then there's also there's this light and this joy. So it's like we do get to feel it all.
Yeah, juicy.
So the day ended with a yoga class, and I told them, I was like, if you don't want me to like use essential oils, and if you don't want me to touch you, it's okay. All of them let me do it. And at the end of it, this beautiful, beautiful young woman came up to me, and she hugged me, and she just started crying. And her name is Cecile, and I love her, love her, love her. She was 17. And she's like, I needed you today. I really, really needed you today. Like, you taught me to believe in myself. You taught me to trust. You taught me that there is a different way to live. And I had this mala wrapped around my arm from India, and I gave it to her. And I was just like, please hold this and keep it and take it with you wherever you are, and just like know that I'm with you. And many years later, we're still friends, and she is this incredible, impeccable woman. But I left there thinking that if I never did anything else with my life, that had enough meaning in it. And then the second one, okay, I'm going to go long with this, but I'm going to shorten it. The second one happened during the retreat for the widows in January. And we took them to Mull, and it was an incredible landscape, an incredible space, and just these beautiful human beings. And during this one, because it was a smaller retreat, my friend Uta and I decided that we were going to cook for it ourselves. And we were kind of worried because we're like, you know, we cook for friends, but we don't know how it's going to be to actually like cook for a retreat. So there was that moment of trepidation, and then we just did it. And I did a lot of it because I really enjoyed it. And one of the incredible women there, her husband had passed in July last year, and she hadn't been eating very much at all. And she cleared her plate at every meal. And I have never felt more proud and just joyous to know that I was able to like feed someone who needed that nurture and that care through actually like cooking for them. Yeah. So yeah, that was
powerful.
That's so good.
Yes, Sarah. What a woman. You are amazing. Thank you for coming on tonight. You have got something coming up.
Yes. Okay. So lots of incredible things. Lots of incredible things at Calm always. But next Sunday. Oh my God.
It's on Sunday. Is it
it's the 7th.
Today. Yes.
That's
so listen up, people
realization.
Yes. So you've got
this disclaimer. This one that we're doing is only for women, but there will be others and men will be included. But this one is a 5-hour creating sacred space in our physical bodies seminar with Danny from the Chachi Power Project, all about empowering women in their physical bodies. So there's going to be movement, there's going to be sharing and storytelling and creative writing and aromatherapy and eating together and really learning how to physically anchor in our bodies with appreciation, because we do so much of the opposite of it. So it's really it's really time to reclaim them. There is no waiting around. It needs to happen. We need to appreciate every single molecule that has come together to create us, because life is a miracle and a joy, and we need to live it fully. So yeah,
so expect magic and miracles, basically. So
simple things, the things we do all the time.
I'd love for you to share that event and also all your details so that everyone can connect with you, find you, and share you as well. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been deep. It's been amazing. People will see new perspective to life. So thanks.
I love you.
Here.
Thank you for doing this, because
much.
every single one that you've done has been incredible, and it's been an honor to be here with you. Thank you.
So
I love
much.
you.
Thanks to everyone for joining me. Yes. Bye.
Bye.